What is up, everybody? This is Hater Radio. My name is Chris McLean. I'm here with my co-host Ian Gibson. We are on Instagram. Oh God, hold on. I'm gonna mute something. Yeah. So again, repeating, we're on Instagram live for the first time because StreamYard just made it available. So anyone that's on Instagram, thank you for viewing. We're trying to build up the rapport and our fan base on the live streams. We do it through Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, and now obviously with Instagram. So you can follow us all on any of those. And what we've had real success with is with our YouTube channel, which all the videos are live there, or not live, uploaded later. And then we're up to about 100 subscribers there. Just the other day we passed it. So, we started off with 1 subscriber to begin the season, and now we're, that's, I don't know what percentage that is, but it's 100 times that, obviously. So I think it's 1,000%. I think that's how that works. I haven't been as strong as on my math lately because I'm not being a math tutor anymore. But anyway, so let's talk about it. I'm wearing green. It's Wear Green Wednesday. Ian is not wearing his green appropriately, of course, but he was there. I don't know if you guys saw, anyone that was on Twitter. We posted some of the videos that Ian had taken when him and George got on the field after the Boca Raton game, Boca Raton Bowl. And you know what, man, USF winning 45-0 against Syracuse, such a huge win. I'm so excited for the future for this team. With the on-campus stadium coming, they finished that practice facility. A lot of different facilities for the football team going to be built. It's just an exciting time for this team. Recruiting was top 50 in the country. I don't know if we've ever been that high. It was the highest group of 5 team recruiting wise. Just remarkable all the way around. A great finish, a winning record, 7-6 after only having 4 wins the last previous 3 years. It's just, I don't know. To describe it is kind of indescribable, actually, because they were nothing. The program was like non-existent, and Alex Golesh has resurrected this program. And Ian, you were there. I want to hear your opinions about the game.
Yeah, so the game itself, we mentioned it before, but I always, on the car ride, me and my cousin George, and I'm sure you thought of it too. Syracuse is very wounded. Head coach is gone, and now, all the quarterback opted out. They are getting Kyle McCord, but unfortunately couldn't use him for the bowl game. He was on the sideline. And I'm sure they were thinking there was some way we could have used him, but they were trying to, kind of a wildcat option, and trying to do what Navy did, which had some success in the first half against USF. And that was the part that I was most concerned about, is that Navy game, that first half, Navy was doing a very good job confusing the defense, especially the linebackers. And USF did not fall for it one bit. USF defense, this was clearly USF's best defensive game, and I understand they literally had a tight end at quarterback. But even against a team like Navy, who runs that style of offense, USF didn't look that good. They were doing a great job, finding the gaps, splitting there. The objective was to pretty much just play them up front, and if they beat you in the air, if they ever throw it, they beat you. And they did a very good job, kind of prioritizing where the attack was coming from. Offensively, just spectacular. Atkins now becoming the first 1,000-yard receiver in USF history, and well-deserved. He did a great job. Byron Brown making plays happen. Very, just the offensive machine was, was humming, very well done, and did a good job. That hurry up, you can tell Syracuse was not ready for that type of offense. And you can see this, I remember saying this in the game, from the Western Kentucky game, USF, I think now would have won that game, because most of the time when that offense was going, the USF was not ready for this hurry up offense. The team itself, I remember, I think we mentioned it before, the first 2 games, they weren't exactly, in sync with each other. Now with that offense, getting into gear and with these players now understanding the system, it is a well-oiled machine. And they just exploited Syracuse's weaknesses. Overall, fantastic, win for USF. Their first bowl win since the Birmingham Bowl in 2017. I was a sophomore in high school when that happened, and they were wearing the old Under Armour, those really weird uniforms. Quentin Flowers, Marlon Mack, those guys. And yeah, I think that was their first bowl appearance since 2018 in the Gasparilla Bowl too. So they knocked a lot out. And again, we mentioned it before the show, largest bowl shutout ever. And obviously, in the offseason, it was amazing recruiting class coming in. And the disparity, I wanted to mention that. Not only was USF like top 50, they were not only the best AAC class in the conference, they were the best class by a healthy margin. I think Tulsa and Eastern Carolina. Tulsa was second place, Eastern Carolina was second, but I believe, and again, composite rankings, make that with what you will in scoring. USF ranked 196 composite score. Tulsa was 187. That's almost a 10-point disparity in recruiting class, which is huge. I mean, in the SEC, Bama and Georgia, it's only like 2 or 3. So when you have that much of a gap, it shows you're outworking everybody. The future looks bright for USF. Overall, fantastic way to end the season and go into next season.
Yeah, and it's a credit to Alex Golesh 100%. Like, because Jeff Scott really failed us as a program and as a university, and I'm not trying to downplay him. It just for whatever reason it didn't work out, and you know what? Alex Golesh took advantage of it, and he saw from a distance how good this program could be. He said it when he first got there, the recruiting area, the weather's nice year round. There's a ton of stuff to do in the Tampa Bay area. There's a lot of pluses for the school, and I don't know how long he'll stay. I mean, there's a chance that if he does really well next year, he could be gone. But with what they have going forward, even if he does leave, it still would set up the school for several years. Especially if they hire another decent coach that they can keep things going. But I honestly, the way that he talks about USF, and I know obviously people can say a lot and whatever, and it just, you can take it for whatever it is, but I still believe him. I feel like he wants to make this work. And, a lot of people that come to the Tampa Bay area and play for the teams in the area, they usually end up staying after they retire. And there's a reason, because it's a really nice place to live, and it's a really great place to raise a family. And he's got young kids, and it's maybe he wants to stay around. Who knows? But let's get into the CFP stuff, because that's what this show is mainly about. I know I could talk about the UCLA bowl game, but sorry, Richard, I don't know if you're seeing this, but I'm not really big into the bowl games. I just did it for USF because it was a big win and something they hadn't had in a long time. UCLA won their bowl game as well, beat Boise State. I'm just not going to really go big into it because it really wasn't that great of a game anyway. So it's like, whatever. I'm just not into bowl games. I'm really not. I'm only into the playoff games. Okay. So let's talk about the playoff games. The first one I want to talk about is I want to mention this one first because I don't feel that there is a lot of competition in the second one we'll talk about. The first one we're going to talk about is Texas-Washington. So I feel like this game is, of the two, the more competitive game. I feel like there is a lot of intrigue in this game. Both of these offenses are very strong. They put up a lot of points. Defensively, Texas has a much stronger defense than Washington. Stat-wise, I mean, I went through them all. today. I really did like quite a deep dive on both of these teams stat wise. Um, you know, for Texas defense, one of the things that stands out to me is scoring defense. They only allow 17.5 points a game. Um, they're really good on third downs. They only allow 26.5 percentage conversions on third downs. Um, tackle for loss. They have 82 total for the season. So it's like 6.3 per game. Um, their rush defense is the third best in the country. They only allow 80.8 yards per game. Largely, that I think has to do with the fact that a bunch of the teams that they've played are usually behind in the games that they play, so they have to pass. So they usually like get out of the run game and exclusively go to the pass, and that affects their pass defense, which their pass defense is 93rd. So that kind of explains itself there. They allow 240.8 yards per game. It's 11.2 yards per completion there for that. Some of the stars for Texas's defense is Jalen Ford, linebacker. He has 91 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss. Anthony Hill, another linebacker, 63 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 5.0 sacks. One of their edges is really good. Ethan Burke, 8.5 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. Byron Murphy, D lineman, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. Two DBs, their best graded DBs they have, Jaron Thompson and Malik Muhammad. I like their defense a lot. I think in this game, the matchup between the defense of Texas and Washington's offense is going to be the story of the game, because I feel like Texas is going to be able to score a lot on Washington, and the deciding factor will be if Washington can actually score on Texas's defense. Lately, they haven't. A lot of people haven't been able to. Texas Tech got smoked by Texas. Oklahoma State got handled pretty well. So they're rolling right now. Quinn Ewers was hurt in the latter part of the season and was out a few games. So the offense kind of like took a step back, but then he came back, struggled a little bit in that first game, and then the next two games he just rolled. So I honestly feel this game is going to be close. But again, like I said, the focus is going to be on, can Washington keep pace with Texas? I don't think they'll be able to. I think that Texas is going to win by like 10 points. I'm going to go with like Texas winning like 37 to like 27. Let me hear your thoughts, Ian.
Yeah, no, you hit all the pretty much homework I did too on this one, but I think it did come down to just the style of play of these two teams. Washington needs to make this game a shootout, because if it's a
Yeah,
defensive battle, we have seen
sure.
Washington this year before. Defensively, they are not up to par with Texas right now. Texas,
Yeah,
I believe they are top. They're in the upper half of it, not like elite top 10, but they're good enough to snuff out. I mean, if they're good enough to beat Bama and then Oklahoma State and these teams and really hold them, they can do that. For Washington, a lot of it is the reliance on Penix Jr. As great
yeah,
as Penix is, he is the engine to that offense, and we have seen before when Penix is not having a good game. Case in point, the Arizona State game. Penix probably wasn't sharp, 275 yards, which was pretty good. But when he's not having a really good game, like against Arizona State or Oregon State, Washington State, and pretty much any team with a state in it, it's not the when he's not having a game, it really anchors the offense. So that is what it's going to come down to. That is going to be, Texas's main priority, is as it was against Alabama. when Alabama and Texas played each other, they completely focused on Milroe because he knew he was the most dangerous player. You take him out, you make it very hard for Alabama to win. Now you do that with Penix, and for that, Washington, the only chance they have to make it a shootout. And when it comes down to that, I still think Texas has the advantage in that one. I feel like if Texas plays a Washington game, they can still win that. If Washington is playing a Texas game, they're going to get it's not going to be close. Um, as great as Washington has been this year, I feel like Texas just overall pound for pound finds a way to win and is the better team. I'm almost exactly the same. I'm going to go with like a let's go 38-28. Make it some parity there for the Longhorns.
So the other thing I noticed that I didn't mention was that Washington is the third most penalized team in the country. That could be a huge factor in the in the guise of just the flow of the game, where if Washington is getting themselves behind the sticks and not being on schedule to get those first downs, it could be a huge problem and could get them out of the flow of the game, especially the first like quarter or two, where if they aren't clicking right away, Texas might just be scoring at will, and then Washington is nowhere to be found. So okay, let's move on to Alabama, Michigan. I actually might be able to go to this game, and I'm hoping that I will, because it would be the first Rose Bowl that I could go to, considering I live only about an hour away. When I was first moved out here to LA, I was only about half an hour away from Pasadena. So, I've wanted to go for a while. I have friends that have a connection to the parade and some certain other people. So maybe I'll be able to go. I don't know. I mean, I'm not like trying to brag. I'm just saying it just to bring light to the fact that this is a nationally covered college brand that we're trying to be. And if I can go to games like this, it's kind of good for our brand that we can be out there. So, I'm excited for this game because it is obviously, Florida State, Alabama. There was a lot of controversy there. We talked about it day of when it happened. And, will this Alabama team show out? Because, they got lucky to be there, like they potentially, most people feel, I don't know. It's kind of split. I haven't really seen one way or the other. There's a lot of Florida State fans obviously felt like they deserved it. And there was a good amount of people that were not Florida State fans that felt they deserved it as well. So there was a ton of controversy. Florida State is suing allegedly, even though I haven't seen anywhere where there's any kind of traction with that. I know they had the other lawsuit regarding them suing the grant of rights stuff with the ACC so they can get out of the conference, but I haven't seen anything regarding the CFP litigation, because Rick Scott and the AG for Florida were all up in arms and saying they were going to sue, but I haven't seen anything for a complaint. I've seen nothing. I don't see anything about what's going on. So obviously it was just a bunch of bluster. But let's get out of that, because that's old news, because now we're going to talk about the actual game. So this Alabama-Michigan game, the reason why I do like it as well, besides just the fact that see if Alabama can prove that they're there, this is actually a very interesting game because it's two opposing types of offensive philosophies here. One with Michigan being the very old school, Big Ten, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, run the ball 40, 50 times a game, compared to this Alabama offense, which with Milroe, it is very unique because Milroe is extremely athletic, probably one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the entire country. I think speed-wise, he's probably one of the fastest. I don't know for sure, but like watching him play, he is a freak of nature when it comes to speed. And him and the way he operates that offense is definitely, where the new approach of offense is going, of having a more athletic quarterback, being able to be more dynamic with the ball, RPOs, making a difference there. And, I like Alabama's offense a lot, and I'm actually excited because um, I believe Milroe is a sophomore, so I'm almost positive he's going to be back next year, which is like great for college football. It's weird now. We're getting into the point where it's like, these stars in the college level are getting that NIL money, and they can stay longer if they really want to. And, and maybe to the point where, schools are spending a ton of money to keep these guys, which, it is a weird thing. I don't know if people realize, but back in like the early days of college football, like 100 years ago, that college football was bigger than the pros, and that they used to pay the college players more than the pro players. And so like no one even cared about pro football. And like it was like there was such a bit. They made that movie what is it? Leatherheads?
Leatherheads.
Yeah, it was with George Clooney and Jim Krasnicki. And so, it's funny that it's almost coming back to that a little bit, not to the same extent, because still you make more money contractually as an NFL player than you probably would in college, but it's definitely getting up there. It seems to be getting up there. But let's get back on the task. As far as Michigan's defense is kind of bloated or slanted because of the lack of offensive output from the teams that they play. They are the second best defense overall. They only allow 239.7 yards per game, 4.28 per play. Only have allowed 14 TDs all year, which is not very many. Third downs, they only allow 30.8 completion third down conversions. They've only allowed 165 first downs all year. That's second in the nation. Red zone defense, they've only allowed 9 offensive touchdowns out of 21 red zone opportunities. Passing defense, again, they haven't played a really great passing quarterback. And not that Milroe is as well, but it's kind of inflated here where, they're second in the country. It's, again, they haven't played anyone, so it's really hard to judge how good this team is. Now, I will say fifth in run defense is strong suited because they do play a lot of really good run teams in the Big Ten, because that's what mainly the focus is in the Big Ten, is running the ball. So to have a good run defense there is extremely well. So they'll be well suited for the run. But again, because they have not played an athletic quarterback like Milroe, it's going to have a huge effect. Some of their stars on defense, Jalen Harrell is the edge, 7.5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. Braden McGregor, he's an edge, 7 tackles for loss. Junior Carlson, linebacker, 79 tackles. Mike Sandstro, 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. He's the highest rated secondary player on PFF. As far as Alabama's defense, though, and that's where it's like this is going to come into play, though. Okay, so Michigan's defense is strong, but Alabama's defense is really strong as well. And I think that might actually be what sways my opinion the most here, is that J.J. McCarthy has not seen a fast, athletic defense like this, and super strong as well. They have a lot of really good ends and linebacking play. They're all their DBs have some of the highest PFF grades. And it's This Alabama defense, let's see, it's 19th total defense, only allowed 28 TDs, considering there's quite a bit of offense in the SEC. LSU is one of the best offenses in the country, and they played them pretty strongly. They've only given up 213 first downs. That's 21st in the country. Passing defense, they've only allowed 188.8 yards per game, 12 interceptions total. I don't know. I really like this Alabama defense a lot. I think for as far as the offense goes for both of these teams, Michigan's rankings are not very high. Their total offense is 68th. Their passing offense is 72nd. Their rush offense is 60th. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sold on this Michigan team at all. I haven't been all year. And Ian, you know that. I've said that all year.
Yep.
I just don't believe in this team. Alabama is not ranked that high as well on offense. But again, you look and see what their results are. They ran all over LSU, which LSU doesn't have that great a defense. They played very well against Georgia. That Georgia defense is obviously one of the better in the country. And, they were in control of that game almost the entire way. Like once they went up by 10 points, they were almost up by 10 points the entire game. Even though Georgia kept coming back, Alabama kept putting points and putting drives together. Milroe, extends drives, extends plays. He does so many things. I just feel like this Alabama team is so much better than this Michigan team as an entirety. Yes, there are some parts of Michigan that are very good. Blake Corum is a stud. The tight end is pretty solid as well. Their run game, obviously, I appreciate. But once this game gets into a 10 to 14 point game and Michigan has to throw the ball to be able to come back, like, I don't think so, man. I have no faith in McCarthy being able to put anything together, considering how good Alabama's pass defense is. And that's going to be the difference in this game, I believe. That's just where I'm at. Where are you at, Ian?
So obviously you brought up the statistics, and obviously I did the homework on that, but you also know I do the history. And for a while, I have always said, for at least for Michigan, they have really struggled against SEC teams, especially with SEC opponents. The only team they have had success in, fortunately for us, is Florida. So discounting Florida, who is technically their most recent SEC victory in 2017 in the Kickoff Bowl, the last time Michigan beat an SEC team that was not named Florida Gators was the Vanderbilt Commodores in 2006. Since then, wow, Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina twice, and Georgia have all beaten them. And the last time Michigan played or beat Alabama was in the Orange Bowl in 2000, Tom Brady's swan song in Michigan. Yep. Yeah. And they have played them 5 times, about to be 6, and have won that one time. So history's not looking good for the Wolverines. Unless the other team's wearing orange and blue for some reason. I don't know what it is. They got some hex on the Gators. But for Michigan, when you look at it this year, I do agree with you, is that the schedule-wise, it's been very top-heavy. They have that win against Ohio State, which is probably the closest to an Alabama-type team they will play.
Yeah, true. And I didn't say that, and I wanted to put that out there as well, that Ohio State is as close to an SEC team in the country that you'll get. And that is fair to argue that. And not only just an SEC team, but a top-end SEC team as well. So, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. But with the way Michigan plays, and especially many Big Ten teams play, it's very, I wouldn't say like super old school, but it's very like fundamental. Ground and pound, play action pass. You win on more, chest movement than you do athleticism and skill play. Completely the opposite in the SEC, and especially for Alabama. It is all about athleticism, skill, and speed. which Michigan has struggled mightily against, with the exception they've getting the hand on it with Ohio State. And that is the one key to this, is that we have seen Michigan progress with, these teams that are more skilled and athletic based, especially on the offensive side. But there's a big difference between winning in the Big Ten and winning in the SEC. I'm sorry to tell that to everybody. But so when it comes down to it, is I feel like with this one, obviously, again, what we mentioned with Texas and Washington, Milroe is that, the biggest key to the, offense. And with that defense, I do actually believe the defense is going to make Milroe uncomfortable. But that is what it's going to come down to, is how well Michigan's defense can keep Alabama off the board. Because as good as, Alabama, is on offense, and Michigan has been on offense as well with Corum, I don't see them having as much success in that department against that Alabama defense. I think they'll score, but not enough. So what it's going to come down to, pretty much a huge beating around the bush here, is that how well Michigan's defense is able to contain Milroe will dictate who's going to win this game. Because if Milroe is able to have as much time in the pocket and can find his wide receivers, Ali, what Auburn did on that 4th and forever play, Alabama's going to, win this one easy. But if they can get to Milroe and make him uncomfortable, and we've seen when Milroe is under pressure, he's not the, greatest at that. So for that, Michigan has to take advantage of every opportunity they can. And when I mean every opportunity, not just turnovers. If Alabama doesn't score or they're in good field position, you have to jump on it, because Bama has no problem giving it the other way. So I think with this one, Michigan's going to get to Milroe, but even with that, I don't see Michigan's offense having enough firepower to keep up when the defense can't make a stop at every drive. That's what you're asking in this one. You're asking Michigan to be perfect in an imperfect game. And I don't think that's going to happen. And I think Bama takes this one. I think it's going to be close, but Bama knows how to win these games, and they've played these games before. And I've said it before, Michigan really struggles on beating these SEC teams. They don't know how to win against these SEC teams unless they're wearing blue and orange. So with this one, I think Bama wins this one. I'm going to go with a 31-27 win for the Tide.
I don't think this game's going to be close. I really think that Alabama's going to get ahead early, and Michigan's going to be chasing the whole game. And if that's the case, then, Milroe is going to be running wild. They're not going to be able to stop him. And then McCarthy is going to be forced to make plays, which he's not comfortable doing. And if that's the case, then I feel like Alabama's going to win, like at least be up by 14 by the 4th quarter, and may put the nail in the coffin like midway to late in the 4th, like go up by like 20, 21. So I'm going to say like Alabama wins like 42 to like 21. But that's it. That's our predictions. Look forward to these games. They're on Monday afternoon into the evening. We will have a show hopefully Tuesday, wrapping up those games and then previewing the championship game, which would be the following Monday. So that'll be that show and then one other show. So there's 2 shows left, and then that's the end of the year, and then we won't be doing anything until August. So it's going to be a much needed break. I'm going to be glad to get away from it. I do love this, but sometimes it's it's a little much. I'm not going to lie. But Ian, thank you for being on. What are your socials before we go?
Yes, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, all at GGatorG.
Okay, that's where you can follow Ian. You can follow us at hater_radio for Twitter, X, for Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. For YouTube, it is at Hater Radio. For Facebook, it is Hater Radio CFB. haterradio1@gmail.com is our email. Please follow us, like, subscribe, all that. It helps us out so much. We appreciate all of you, it's been such a great year, and we look to finish this out. Enjoy these games. And if I forgot to say this, but Merry Christmas to everyone. It was just the other day, and Happy New Year as well. And we'll talk to you guys soon.